So I woke up one morning and decided I was going to be a genius that day. But little did I know I was going to construct one of the worst levels I think I've ever created. So the first thing I started to do was make a teleport trigger connected to a star that would become invisible eventually, and started making some decent gameplay that was based on floaty structures. With an offset, it would be much easier to make the gameplay more sight readable, and that's really what I wanted to do because I wanted to make more fun and challenging gameplay. So I also grabbed the song Demoness to try to make a decent atmosphere around the level. After picking the song, I decided to make a more floaty UFO to fit the entire theming of the level. Then I made a Cataclysm inspired part of the level where it's based on the end wave. And it turned out pretty well, not the best structuring, but it was going to be really hard to decorate. After making that small segment, continuing on the wave part, I decided to make a mini wave and based on Succubin Hell, which is one of my favorite levels that have ever been created. Here was one of the hardest part of the challenge. So there are some hardest parts and I'll be going over them. So number one, the layout and the song choice. Though that is one of the easiest parts. Number two, the one we're on, is Burnout. I didn't know what to do here. I was completely really lost for what to do, and going to be the hardest is obviously the decoration, which is always the hardest for me. I'm not the best decorator, but I'm going to be able to, I think, be able to pull this off, but I guess we'll have to see. So the very next thing I was going to do is make a very high gravity and floaty ship segment so I can make more of a transition and make it fit the theme more. And I think it turned out decently. It wasn't like the best, but it would work for now. And what I forgot about was that I didn't actually originally mean to put high gravity, but it ended up working out in what I think was a good way. And it wasn't that bad, but what I had to do to make it balanced and not make it like an impossible transition from the mini wave was I had to make invisible slopes and blocks to make it so you can get fixed into place so you're able to actually play the level. So I made the ship blocks like weird and curvy because that would make it like fit the aspect better, how the blocks are falling apart and trying to like float off. But it was gonna be really difficult to decorate that because after all it is just blocks on top of each other and I want to make it smooth, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do that. So now we're at the home stretch of the layout, and this will be the final part because we're approaching 20 minutes, and I wanted to make it devote 20 minutes to layout and 40 minutes to decoration. So I was hoping that would turn out the best, but that would cause the layout to be a little unbalanced and a little unfun. So now that the layout was finished, I wanted to now make the decoration. Now that we've gone to 20 minutes, it's time to make the worst decoration that I think I've ever done. It fits a theme a little bit, but the background is terrible. So let's get into it. Then I proceeded to spend 20 minutes of my life making the background that I do kind of like and I also don't like. It's supposed to be based on a scientific atom, but I guess it worked well, and not very group efficient though, so yay. Now is on the actual block decoration because this was going to be pretty difficult, and I'm not sure how I was going to do at the time. I was thinking a little blue and like fiery glowy parts, but then I switched up and kept the fire at the bottom, but it was more like the fire's keeping a block structure up. So then I decided to make a custom spike that would hopefully fit the level in the classic way I usually make custom spikes, but hopefully it would turn out well. Now, took only about 10 minutes, but think about it, that would be taking a while. We only had about 10 minutes left now, and that's not a lot. I mean, we could just copy and paste it around, and that's what I ended up doing, but for the wave, we're gonna have to make whole new structures and stuff. to make it like more creative and stuff. And after that, I decided to move on to the UFO block deco. And that was much simpler because I would just use the assets I already had from the other block design. So it was pretty easy. And all I had to do was copy and paste a couple things around and it would be done. So the timer was up at this point after making some orb decoration. And all I did after the timer went off was move all the assets and stuff to the top of the level to make sure if I ever returned to the level to use what I already had. So, and now I'll show you what the level finally looked like.